December 1, 1948. A man is found dead, propped against a seawall on Somerton Park beach in Adelaide, Australia. He's impeccably dressed in a suit and tie, his shoes polished, with no signs of struggle. In his pockets, a bus ticket, a train ticket, a comb, some chewing gum. But no wallet, no cash, and most importantly, no identification. Who was this man? How did he die? The autopsy revealed congestion and bleeding in his organs, suggesting poison, but no trace was ever found. This was just the beginning of one of history's most baffling mysteries, the case of the Somerton Man. The police were stumped. The man's fingerprints yielded no matches. His dental records were unique, but unidentifiable. Even the labels on his clothing were meticulously removed, erasing any clue to his origin. The man was a ghost. He was well-nourished, physically fit, around 40 to 45 years old. He had the calves of a dancer or a long-distance runner. Yet, no one came forward to claim him. It was as if he had simply materialized on that beach, only to vanish from the world. The press dubbed him the Unknown Man, a fitting title for a specter who left behind more questions than answers. The case took a bizarre turn a few months later. A pathologist re-examining the man's clothing discovered a tiny, hidden fob pocket sewn into the waistband of his trousers. Inside was a tightly rolled scrap of paper, printed with two words, Tamám Shud. This phrase, meaning it is ended or it is finished in Persian, was torn from the final page of a very specific book, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyám, a collection of 12th century poems. This wasn't just any book, but a rare edition. A nationwide search was launched. Where was the book this scrap came from? And what did this cryptic message signify? Was it a suicide note? A final message? Or something far more sinister? The mystery deepened when a local man came forward. He told police that just after the body was found, he discovered a rare copy of the Rubaiyat tossed into the back of his car, which had been parked near Somerton Beach. He hadn't thought anything of it until he saw the police appeal. When investigators examined this book, they found the last page, containing Tamám Shud, had been torn out. The scrap from the Somerton Man's pocket was a perfect match. But the book held even more secrets. Faintly penciled on the back cover were 5 lines of what appeared to be a coded jumble of capital letters. The second line was struck through. To this day, the world's best cryptographers, from military intelligence to amateur sleuths, have been unable to crack it. What secrets did this code hold? Was it a key to his identity, or a message meant for someone else? And then there was the phone number. Also written in the book was an unlisted phone number belonging to a nurse who lived just a short walk from where the body was found. Her name was Jessica Jo Thompson. When questioned, she was evasive, even frightened. She denied knowing the Somerton Man, but according to one detective, she nearly fainted when shown a plaster cast of his face. She admitted to once owning a copy of the Rubaiyat, which she had given to a man named Alfred Boxall during World War II. For a moment, it seemed the case was solved. Was the Somerton Man Alfred Boxall? The police tracked him down, only to find him very much alive, with his copy of the Rubaiyat, complete with the Tamám Shud page fully intact. So, who was the man on the beach? Why did he have Jessica Thompson's number? And why did she react so strongly to seeing his bust? Theories have swirled for decades. The most prominent one is that he was a Cold War spy. The indecipherable code, the untraceable poison, the removed clothing tags, it all points to espionage. The year was 1948. The Cold War was heating up. Australia was home to the Woomera Rocket Range, a top-secret Anglo-Australian weapons testing facility. Was he a Soviet agent, perhaps meeting a contact? Or a double agent who had been silenced? Jessica Thompson, who spoke of being harassed by an unknown man, could have been part of this clandestine world. Her daughter Kate later claimed in an interview that her mother knew the Somerton Man's identity and that he was the father of her son. She believed both her mother and the Somerton Man were Soviet spies. Another theory suggests a love affair gone wrong. Perhaps the Somerton Man was a jilted lover of Jessica Thompson. The Tamám Shud phrase, "it is finished," could have been a poetic, final declaration of a broken heart, leading to his suicide. This might explain why Thompson was so reluctant to identify him, possibly to avoid a scandal that would have been devastating in the conservative 1940s. It could explain her fear and evasiveness. But it doesn't quite account for the code, the lack of identification, or the cause of death, which pathologists suspected was a poison so rare it was virtually undetectable. Over the years, the investigation has hit countless dead ends. The man's body was eventually embalmed and buried in 2011, under a headstone that simply read, "Here lies the unknown man who was found at Somerton Beach." For over 70 years, his identity remained a complete mystery. But the story doesn't end there. In 2021, in a stunning development, South Australian police exhumed the Somerton Man's body. The goal? To finally solve the mystery using modern DNA technology. Researchers hoped to build a comprehensive DNA profile that could be matched against genealogical databases, potentially tracing his family tree and giving him back his name. And in July 2022, a breakthrough was announced. Professor Derek Abbott, a researcher who had dedicated years to the case, claimed to have identified the Somerton Man. Using hairs found trapped in the plaster death mask, he and his team constructed a family tree. Their conclusion: the Somerton Man was Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer and instrument maker from Melbourne, born in 1905. The records show Webb had a wife he had separated from, and he had essentially vanished in 1947. This identity seems to fit many of the known facts, but as of now, this identification has not been officially confirmed by the South Australian police, who are conducting their own separate analysis. So, while we may finally have a name, the why remains elusive. Why did Carl Webb travel to Adelaide? Why was he carrying a cryptic poem? And how, exactly, did he die? The case of the Somerton Man is a labyrinth of secrets, a puzzle with missing pieces. From a body on a beach to Persian poetry, secret codes, and Cold War paranoia, it's a story that has captivated Australia and the world for over 7 decades. Even with a potential name, the enigma of his final days persists. Was he a spy, a scorned lover, or just a man who chose to disappear? The truth, it seems, remains buried somewhere between the lines of a cryptic poem and the silent shores of Somerton Beach. What do you think happened? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's greatest cold cases. If you found this as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for more explorations into the unknown. Until next time, stay curious.